And so I want to talk about that evolution and where it started and where it needs to be for agencies to be successful. So let's kind of go back to the old days, okay? This is an old school model. I hope everybody's out of this model by now. God, I hope. But I know there's still some holdouts thinking that this is the right way to do that. And this is that ratio, and you'll see in each of the slides, you'll see the ratios change of project management to account management, in this case, what people were calling traffic. And really what happened is your account people were playing this blended account project management, and you had project management in accounting, and you had project management in traffic, and you had project management on the AEs, and project management in creative directors. You had it all over the place. And then really that focus was just on routing deliverables. It was about getting the work out the door. It wasn't about on budget. It was mostly just about on time. Just get it out the door. That is, I don't really care about anything else as long as we deliver it. So the over-servicing got out of control, right? The mis-scoping. I mean, we had the client advocate is scoping all the work. Not a good idea. So they weren't traffic, old school traffic was not able to be involved in anything. They were just handed. It was like the worst role ever. It was like you were handed this large steaming pile and expected to execute it and get it out the door on time. And it was terrible. So, and they were extremely reactive because they had no visibility to actually get ahead of anything. Okay? So I'm praying nobody's in this model. Okay, but then we were like, oh, okay, we need project managers. Well, let's start with basic PM. Okay, so we slightly invested in PM, and it's really just the junior stuff that the account people don't want to do, right? So all that stuff, the account people were like, sure, make PMs, do all this stuff. And that's where it went from there. And they're not allowed to be client-facing. Whoa, don't talk to the clients. That's my job. And these project managers would have to go to these account coordinators. And the account coordinators would be communicating to the client instead of the project managers, which is extremely efficient, as you could imagine. So you had all this duplication at this stage. There's massive amounts of duplication because I can't actually really reduce my account service team much. And now I have these PMs, but the PMs are in a kind of not a great role. So they're usually handed timelines to figure out critical milestones. They are sort of like, yeah, here, go make a timeline. Here's all the milestones you have to meet. So now all of a sudden they're just blowing out the inside of a timeline you've already committed to. Okay, still not a fun role. Okay, and so they then still reactive. They don't have the visibility that they need to be proactive. Okay, and usually it's this mid-level to junior. And what happens is you end up with high turnover because it's kind of a thankless job. And so you end up with this high turnover and everyone's like, I don't know why these PMs are leaving. And you're going, well, still kind of not an awesome place to be. Okay. All right, so now we're getting there. So now we're talking about advanced PM, okay? So we finally realized that great account people make terrible PMs, right? And good PMs usually make terrible account people, right? So there are a few sort of behavioral profiles that can do them both, but they're very few and far between. So if I try to grow my agency on the unicorn, I have a very small talent pool. Okay, so now I've recognized that they're not the same skill sets. I've recognized that they're different. Okay, and now I've recognized that I can let them be client-facing. I can let them talk to clients about driving projects through, and they're not going to tank everything, believe it or not. So we figured that out. But guess what I'm still doing? They're reporting to the director of client services, right? So I have two teams. But I have absolutely no career path for this project management discipline. Where are they going to go? As a project manager, I have, and not only that, I have the biggest client advocate in charge of my project management team that is supposed to be an agency advocate. Okay, that's called the fox watching the hen house. And it doesn't work well because the person that I ultimately report to doesn't, I mean, at the end of the day, even if they want to be, they are still the client advocate. If they're good at their job, they're still the client advocate over the agency advocate. Okay, so now we've got to fix that. Okay, but the PM team has gotten better, so this is good. I see a lot of people here, and it's okay, but we need to change that. We need to move that because we need to think about project management as a unique discipline as the agency advocate. And the only way the project management team can be the agency advocate is if they roll up to operations and or finance or both. They can roll out that path so that they can be respected as this discrete discipline with a unique set of skill sets that they bring to the table. And the way I think about it is an account person cannot do their job without a project manager, and a project manager cannot do their job without an account person. They are two sides of the same coin, okay? And they have to build a trusting relationship, and they have to appreciate their complementary skill sets so that they can work well together, okay? You need a true career path for PM, because at the end of the day, if there's not a career path for project managers, you're not going to attract the right talent. And you're going to have turnover, and people are going to be frustrated. So now we want to respect that discipline and recognize that there's a place to grow. There's a place to be. You can become operations. You should be thinking about how you're going to better this organization. And now we have junior project management roles all the way up to extremely senior project management roles. So now we can lower that turnover, we can keep people, and we can grow that skill set. They also get to be a lot more proactive. So when they are a team, think about they are communicating with that client and they can get ahead of things. And one of the things you'll learn about Workology is that it works better the more proactive, the stronger your project management discipline and the more proactive your project management discipline, the more you will get out of Workology, hands down. So, and this is where we really elevate that PM, where we're talking about what are the transactions we're going to write off? What are the things that we are going to do ultimately that are going to give us this business intelligence and this information? So what's funny is that accounting's best friend is now project managers in this world. They love each other. They absolutely adore each other. And they work really well together. And, you know, this is why, because if you think about it, your project manager is the steward of your data, right? To do my job as a project manager, I have to look at the data. I got to see what's in my project. I look at time. I got Bob on my time. Bob didn't even work on my job. I don't know why Bob is on my job, right? I've got to look at that, and I got to know what's on my job. I got to know what's happening. So the job of a PM is also to be your data steward. Because if I put an expense to my job and it wasn't part of my job, then I need to look at it and get it off my job and get it somewhere else where it needs to be. So again, think of it that way, because that PM team is going to shepherd that data through to accounting, right? And in accounting, what you want is accurate data. You want accurate information to make good decisions in accounting. Okay? And this is where that really changes, and we're asking your project management team to step up from the resourcing, traffic, scheduling piece, right? And all the way up to what are the financial ramifications of these projects of this client, okay? I want them thinking about that. And what does that mean operationally for the organization? So let's talk about this path to operations. So just briefly, let's kind of talk about what this looks like. So now we have all these levels. So we have a coordinator. So my project coordinators, mostly, they're junior, right? We're talking 0 to 2 years out of school. And they are doing schedule updates, assignment updates, and just in general project support. But there is a lot of this. For those of you who are actually resourcing in Workology, right? Updating your schedules every single day to ensure that it's accurate. This is a really critical role to do that, because if you don't do that, then all the information on the dashboards is inaccurate, and then everybody blames the tool. which it's not the tool. I can tell you that. It's that nobody's updating it, right? So you really do need to make sure that you do have this level, okay? Now you've got the general project manager. So now they're managing projects, right? Simple, more tactical projects. They are scoping and estimating those projects, and their focus is on time, on budget, and on quality. And when I say on quality, I preface that with saying tactical quality, right? This is about, did we produce what we said we were going to produce? Not, is this deliverable on strategy? Does this deliverable solve the client's business objective? That is the account person's job, okay? So they both have a role in quality. One is a strategic quality, and one is a tactical quality, okay? So then we have our program supervisor. So now we're bumping up to managing programs and campaigns, right? That's a whole nother level of complexity there, okay? So we've got also program and campaign budgets. This is where we get into more senior level scoping and estimating. And then this is really where the RevRec participation starts, where they're participating in how their projects, think about percent complete. What is the percent complete, and where am I over budget, and how do I make those decisions? Because I'm not over budget when I'm $1 over the total budget. I'm over budget when I'm in the discovery phase and it was supposed to be $5,000 and I have $10,000. I'm already over budget. Someone should be calling that right then and there, not waiting to the end of the project. Okay? Because that whole line of, don't worry, we're going to make it up in the end, doesn't work. Okay. All right. I've heard that a lot. So then we talk about the program director. Okay. So this is going to be one of your most senior project management roles, talking about managing agency of record accounts, the bigger, more complex engagements. They are scoping and estimating those engagements. They're managing the budget and the reallocation of budgets. They're usually driving the RFP process or the more complex business development processes, ensuring that all that new business is getting scoped properly before we bring it in. And they work on things like account mapping, making sure the team is mapped properly. They're usually focused on team development. And then template design. What do your workflows and your templates ultimately need to look like? And now let's talk about VP of Ops. So think about, this is that career path. So now I can move up to thinking about workflow through the entire agency, right? So I am talking about process improvement across all my departments, because guess what? I know how work flows through my entire organization at this point in time, because I've mastered that. Now it's, how does it need to flow efficiently, effectively? Why am I running the same project 5 different ways? I shouldn't be. I get these people in a room and I say, why do we run it 5 different ways? Let's take the best of all of these and create the way in which our agency makes the best, whatever it is, right? So this is also where they actually facilitate revenue recognition meetings, which is really important. They do write-off approvals. So not that accounting isn't obviously involved as well, but they should be making sure that the reasons that we're writing off make sense, and that the reasons apply to some type of operational solution, something that we need to solve. They're basically going to take all of that data and help operationally fix the organization, okay? And what that means is project management now has a seat at the table, at that executive table, right? To help make the decisions for that organization. Project management is no longer the concept of just get the work out the door. They've now elevated completely to sitting at this table and helping business owners make decisions, okay? This is where they're helping manage planned and unplanned write-offs, right? This should be part of your financial model. What type of planned investments are we going to make this year in our time, in our actual labor that we're going to give away? All those pro bono accounts, right? So they should be optimizing utilization and realization and looking at rates and looking at rate margin with accounting. So they're now at the table helping make good business decisions, okay? They can actually do what-if scenario planning to determine what if we implemented this process, What would we do? What if we raised rates on this account? What would it do, right? So they're now working hand in hand with accounting to figure those pieces out and make better decisions operationally as an organization. Because, again, we talked about it, that big number, just that big number. And a lot of times that's what accounting focuses on, just the big number. And even then, sometimes they don't focus on that. They focus on effective hourly rate. And they say, oh, it's not a problem. It's 115, our effective hourly rate's 115 and it's only supposed to be 120. And like, that's really great, except for it was over like 50,000 hours. Okay, now we have a real big problem. We need to talk about that. What we're talking about is saying, nope, talk about the gross opportunity cost of all of these investments and use your project management discipline to help you build them into strong operational people so that they can help your organization balance the client advocacy, the agency advocacy, and the advocacy for the work.